Islands are usually home to weird and wonderful animals that can't be found anywhere else in the world, and sometimes they can be extremely dangerous. Some islands are dangerous because of environmental factors such as volcanoes and terrain, whereas others are dangerous because the people living there aren't too fond of outsiders. In today's video, we'll be ignoring these factors, as instead we'll be judging the islands based on the animals that can be found on them, and in the waters around them. We'll be travelling around the world ranking 9 of the most dangerous islands based on their wildlife, and we'll start off with a beautiful island in the Caribbean. Cuba is made up of over 4,000 small and large islands, and the largest of these islands is called Cuba. There are many endemic animals that can be found here, but unfortunately some of them have been massively affected by invasive species that have taken over the island. In the waters, you can find the Cuban gar, which is the second largest gar in the world, and on the beaches you can find the Cuban iguana, which is also one of the largest of its kind. If you're really lucky, you can find some truly unique mammals such as the venomous Cuban solenodon, and the capybara-like hutillas. If you look to the trees, you'll find a wide variety of colourful birds, with many of them being found nowhere else in the world. Some experts still believe that the ivory-billed woodpecker could still exist somewhere in Cuba, as the last sighting of the bird was on the island all the way back in 1987. The birds of this island are the animals that have been worst affected by invasive species such as cats and mongoose, but even the deadliest animal in Cuba has been affected by these invaders. The Cuban crocodile is one of the most distinctive crocodilians on this planet, and it has a few behaviours and adaptations that make it particularly dangerous to humans. It's the most terrestrial of all extant crocodilians, being able to move across land surprisingly quickly, and they are known for being the most aggressive New World crocodilian. They are also believed to be one of the most intelligent crocs too, as they've been taught tricks in captivity, and they've been witnessed engaging in cooperative hunting behaviours. Unfortunately, these crocs are listed as critically endangered today, and as I've covered in a previous video, feral cats have had an effect on their numbers by hunting their young. Even though these animals are potentially dangerous, attacks are extremely rare, with one of the most recent incidents occurring in captivity. Part of the reason behind this is the fact that they are only limited to one giant swamp on the island, and there are many warnings once you enter their habitat. Apart from this very famous reptile, there are also some deadly sharks that inhabit its waters, but attacks are rare and these animals are found around most warm islands. For these reasons, Cuba slots in at 9th place, as you'll only get attacked by a Cuban croc if you're really unlucky or reckless, and most of Cuba's wildlife is beautiful and harmless. Now, there was always going to be a chance that we would revisit a location that we've already featured in this series, but it's difficult to talk about dangerous islands without mentioning Réunion. Réunion is a small island in the Indian Ocean, and it's actually an overseas department and region of France. Its closest neighbour is the beautiful island of Mauritius, but unlike its neighbour, it has a high number of shark attacks for an island of its size. On land, you'll find no dangerous animals at all, as the island mostly consists of beautiful scenery and some colourful birds and lizards, but in the water there are plenty of sharks that aren't afraid to bite. Fatal shark attacks on humans are extremely rare, but this island has an unusually high number of incidents. On average, there are around 5 to 10 unprovoked fatal shark attacks globally each year, and there have been at least 29 fatal attacks on this tiny island since 1913. A 2015 study revealed that Réunion had 3.15 shark-related deaths per 1 million people, which is by far the highest in the world. There have been a few theories over the years as to why shark attacks are so common here, and in some of the darkest days, swimming was nearly completely banned on the whole island. Sharks are actively hunting in the area as there are lush reefs that surround the island, and Réunion is on a so-called shark highway, with many sharks travelling between South Africa and Australia. Thankfully, in recent years, the sharks seem to have turned their attention to more conventional prey, as the last fatal attacks were back in 2019 when 2 people were killed. The high risk of shark attacks means that Réunion is fit for 8th place, but if you stay out of the water and admire the scenery, then you'll be just fine. Hokkaido is Japan's northernmost and second largest island, and it has one predator that can't be found on any of the other Japanese islands. The Azuri brown bear is one of the largest subspecies of brown bear, with only the Kamchatka brown bear and the Kodiak brown bear being larger. This mammal is responsible for one of the most terrifying and brutal brown bear attacks on humans, and it took place all the way back in 1915. The Sankabetsu brown bear incident refers to multiple attacks between December the 9th and 15th of 1915, where one Azuri brown bear claimed the lives of 7 people and injured 3. Thankfully, attacks on this scale are unheard of nowadays, but bear attacks in Japan have become more common in recent years. The most recent fatal attack in Hokkaido occurred only a month ago at the time of recording, and there was another fatal attack earlier on this year. In the past, these giant bears have even entered cities and attacked residents, and we're still trying to understand why this is happening. The brown bear population has been growing in Hokkaido over the years, and habitat loss and climate change has made their usual foods more scarce. As well as looking out for bears, you'll also have to look where you tread, because if you're really unlucky, you could step on the Japanese pit viper. This reptile is the most venomous snake that can be found in Japan, and it can be quick to bite if it feels threatened. Every year, around 2,000 to 3,000 people are bitten by this snake across Japan, and this results in around 10 deaths per year. If you're an insect hater, then it might be a good idea to stay away from some of the low mountain forests, as this is where you can run into the largest hornet in the world. The Asian giant hornet can be found in a few countries across the far east of Asia, and it has a healthy population in Hokkaido. These insects have been given the nickname of murder hornets in the US where they are invasive, and deaths from stings are more common than you might think. A single sting doesn't have enough venom to kill a human, but multiple targeted stings can kill you even if you aren't allergic. It's estimated that in Japan, around 15 to 20 people are killed by these hornets each year, which means that they are far deadlier than the Azuri brown bear. These combined threats means that Hokkaido slots in at number 7, and even though they have proven to be deadlier, I'd much rather run into a hornet than an Azuri brown bear. Borneo is the 3rd largest island in the world, and it's actually shared by 3 different countries. Indonesia, Brunei, and Malaysia own different parts of the island, but of course the animals on the island don't care about these borders one bit. Borneo is extremely biodiverse, with some of the world's most iconic animals being found in its rainforests. Here you can find orangutans and proboscis monkeys in the trees, and when darkness falls, the elusive sunder-clouded leopard comes out to play. This island is also a stronghold for some species that are threatened with extinction, such as the sunder pangolin and the sun bear. This bear is the smallest of its kind, and even though it rarely quarrels with humans, it has claimed human lives in the past. These arboreal mammals should really be the least of your worries when travelling here, as the reptiles will be your biggest problem. There are a few venomous snakes that could really ruin your day, such as the Sumatran spitting cobra and the king cobra, but you don't need to have venom to be deadly. The reticulated python is the longest and 3rd heaviest snake in the world, and the largest specimens are capable of claiming human lives. Thankfully, fatal attacks are extremely rare, with one study finding only 13 documented fatal incidents in Indonesia between 1927 and 2025. Despite the snake danger in the rainforests of this beautiful island, its coastal and brackish habitats are by far its most dangerous. Here you can find more deadly yet less aggressive snakes such as the various sea snake species, and in the water you can find sharks and saltwater crocodiles. The saltwater crocodile is the largest crocodilian and the heaviest living reptile on the planet, and it will sometimes snatch unsuspecting humans in Southeast Asia and Australia. Reliable data is hard to come by, but it's estimated that 92 people were killed by crocodiles in Indonesia in 2024, with the saltwater croc being behind most fatal attacks. The deadly reptiles of Borneo mean that this vibrant island slots in at number 6, and I'd think twice before swimming in its brackish waters. It's very rare for an island to be named after the most dangerous animal that inhabits it, but this is the case for a small island off the coast of Brazil. Snake Island is a tiny island with an area of only 43 hectares, and as its name alludes to, it's completely full of snakes. The snakes that are found here aren't non-venomous rodent hunters, as instead they are highly venomous and they have adapted to hunt one of the only other animals on the island that they can target. The golden lancehead is a critically endangered pit viper, and it's only found on the island that's named after it. If you happen to get lost at sea and you end up on the shores of this island, you'd almost think that calling it critically endangered is a joke, as there are an estimated 2,000 to 4,000 on this tiny island. The snakes that are stuck here have very few options when it comes to potential prey, and they feed almost exclusively on birds. There are around 41 different bird species that can be found on Snake Island, but the golden lancehead mostly targets two species in particular, the southern house wren and the Chilean Elenia. There are a few theories as to why there are so many snakes on Snake Island, and they all relate to when the island became isolated from the mainland. When Snake Island became an island, it's likely that many of the golden lancehead's predators and competitors died off, meaning that they could multiply and thrive unchecked. Understandably, Snake Island is uninhabited, and access to the island is banned. Despite this, if you did somehow manage to find yourself there, it would be one of the most dangerous islands in the world due to the crazy density of highly venomous snakes. For this reason, Snake Island slots in at number 5, and this has to be one of the worst places to be a bird. Our next location completely flips the previous island's rule, because this island isn't named after its most dangerous animal, as instead the most dangerous animal is named after the island. Komodo Island is one of the thousands of islands that make up Indonesia, and it's one of the few islands where you can find the Komodo dragon. This reptile and its giant relatives are thought to have originated in Australia, but today they're only found on a few small Indonesian islands. As I covered in a very recent video, they are the largest lizard in the world, reaching lengths of over 3 meters and weights of over 150 kilograms. Like all monitor lizards, they are mildly venomous, and this aids them in taking down prey as large as water buffalo. Even though a fully grown Komodo dragon could easily overpower and kill your average human, fatal attacks are still relatively rare, and local guides and residents can usually persuade them to look for food somewhere else. Despite this, they are known to dig up graves in search of food, and if you're very unlucky or if you ignore all the warnings, you could end up being the most recent Komodo dragon victim. There are an estimated 1,700 Komodo dragons on the island of Komodo, which is by far the largest population of Komodo dragons on any of the islands in which they're found. On land, there are other potentially dangerous animals such as wild boar and water buffalo that can be a real problem if threatened, and there are a few deadly snakes such as Russell's viper and the striking white-lipped viper. Like with many of the other islands in the area, there is a very small yet still present risk of shark attacks, but the saltwater crocodile appears to be extinct in the area. The giant lizard that rules this ecosystem really puts this island on the map, and it also slots it in at number 4. So far, all of the islands featured have been surrounded by salt water, but our next island is found in one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. Migingo Island is one of the most densely populated islands in the world, with a population of around 500 people living on half an acre of rock. Now, I'm not going to lie, Migingo Island is kind of gross, and it's not somewhere that you'd want to stay for too long. It was originally settled by fishermen, and today it boasts several pubs and brothels. There's one single toilet that's shared by the whole island, and the waste is pumped into the waters near where people bathe and fish. Fishing is the main reason why this island was inhabited in the first place, as it has large populations of invasive Nile perch nearby. These giant fish also attract predators, with the Nile crocodile often inhabiting the waters around this tiny island. Even though the Nile crocodile isn't as large as the saltwater crocodile, it's responsible for more human fatalities and it has a higher fatality rate when attacking humans. The most recent attack in Lake Victoria occurred only days ago at the time of recording, but these reptiles aren't the only giants that lurk in these waters. The hippo famously claims the lives of more humans than most African predators, and they also share Lake Victoria with the Nile crocodile. The inhabitants of Migingo Island sometimes fall victim to both of these deadly African giants, and the overcrowding of the island plays a part in this. Many of the residents have to use Lake Victoria daily as a source of water, and many of the fishermen clean their catch and gut their fish near the shore. This creates the perfect recipe for animal attacks, and this is yet another reason not to visit this tiny rock. On this island, you don't only need to dodge the brothels and fish guts, but also the crocs, and this means that it easily slots in at number 3. Wrangel Island is easily the coldest island that we're going to visit today, and this means that there are going to be a lot of animals that we haven't yet featured. This island is found off the northern coast of Russia, and it's the 92nd largest island in the world, being around the same size as Crete. Along the shores of this island you can find a variety of pinnipeds such as bearded seals, ringed seals and walruses, and these mammals serve as prey for the mighty polar bear. Wrangel Island is an important breeding ground for polar bears, having the highest density of dens in the world. Back in 2020, there were around 750 polar bears on this island, and this means that it's very dangerous to walk around its shores without protection. Polar bears see humans directly as a food source, meaning that they will actively seek out and hunt humans if they get the chance. There have been a few infamous and tragic attacks over the years, but thankfully for most of the year this island is abandoned, meaning that attacks are almost unheard of. If you did live on this island, then I think it's fair to say that you'd have a few sleepless nights, as I wouldn't rely on the windows and doors to keep out giant polar bears. Wolves have also colonised, left, and then recolonised this island multiple times over the years, and even though wolf attacks are extremely rare, this potential risk adds to the danger of the island. There are also muskox here that even outnumber the polar bears, and if you make the unwise decision to attack these herbivores, they have proven to be capable of claiming human lives in the past. These combined dangers mean that Wrangel Island is fit for second place, and for our final island we'll be heading back over to Indonesia. Bangka Island is a location that we've already visited in a previous video in this series, and it takes the top spot in this video. This island has been massively affected by tin mining, with tin mining scars being visible all over the island. The tin mining process on the island not only destroys habitats and pollutes water sources, but it also puts the people who live there at great risk of crocodile attacks. From 2013 to 2023, there were 1,000 croc attacks in Indonesia, resulting in 450 deaths, and 90 of these attacks took place on Bangka Island. More than 60% of the island has been turned into tin mines, and some of the areas converted were important habitats for saltwater crocodiles. With their natural habitat gone, they moved into the tin mine lakes, and the bright blue water perfectly conceals their giant scaly bodies. The local people not only have to work but also have to collect water from these tin mine lakes, which results in a high number of attacks. Because of the danger, it's now referred to as the croc attack capital of the world, and understandably some of the locals are terrified. This often leads to revenge killings, and the situation hasn't really improved as the years have gone by. This is why I believe that Bangka Island should take the top spot, but feel free to let me know what you think down below. Of course, these videos are just a bit of fun and shouldn't be taken too seriously, and I'm happy to hear your suggestions down below if you have any. I hope you enjoyed the video, but that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.